Say hi, girlies. I'm Sarah. I'm the Real Simple Mama. I'm out here with my chickens. We're all out starting to integrate together, and I'm going to do a video explaining how you can help your chickens grow feathers back for a couple of different reasons. So good afternoon. We're watching my two newest girls, who I think is a blue Cochin and a black Australorp. They don't have names yet, but they have been integrated with everybody else. So I'm kind of following them around, and I'll be panning to show you my two other girls who I think are production reds. You can see the video here about these 4 chickens who I integrated about 3 weeks ago and what's been going on with them. But this video is going to give you a couple of different suggestions if you have chickens growing feathers back. Usually we're talking about growing feathers back because of molting. And some of these ideas that I'm going to give you, they're just quick suggestions. You can always check here on the YouTube channel and do a search up at the top for videos that go more into detail about certain things. But molting is something that happens with a chicken once they hit about 1 year old, and it'll hit them about once a year. And a molt is a normal thing. It happens to male and female chickens of every breed, and it's where their body sheds a lot of the older feathers, the full-grown feathers that have been on their body for almost a year, and it gives them an opportunity to bring back in new feathers. Now, when they're molting, for example, their body will do sort of a shutdown, like we just go to base systems, which means usually it means that the roosters aren't going to try to mate anybody as often, and it usually means especially that the hens are not going to be laying eggs either at all or as often as their body tries to recuperate. Some other reasons why you might have chickens who need to grow feathers back is because, as you can see in my girls, these two that I'm showing you in the shot, they were in a bullying and sort of a neglect situation to where they weren't getting proper nutrition and they were having their feathers pulled out by other chickens. These two were the bottom of the pecking order where they were, and I mean, and they'll probably still be the bottom of the pecking order here. All right, Mavis? Tick, 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 tick. So the other reason that happens sometimes is if either you have an overactive rooster, like an overexcited rooster, yes, hello, or if you have your rooster to hen ratio isn't that great. I recommend that each rooster has at least 6 hens to divide his attention equally. So maybe if you only have 1 rooster and 1 hen, or 1 rooster and 2 hens, they're getting mated too often, and roosters can often be violent, and they will scratch up the hens on their back and pull out feathers on the hen's back and neck. So for whatever reason you found this video because you want some suggestions on how to help your chickens grow their feathers back, there's also going to be an article on realsimplemama.com that has all of the links and has everything in writing if you'd rather read it instead. So getting into it, the main thing is that your chickens are going to need extra protein. Now you can do this in one or many ways, and like usual, I'm going to give you my suggestions here, and then you can certainly pick and choose what works for you. You can do all of them, you can just do one. But think about giving your chickens extra protein. Now, your chickens should not have treats or snacks or anything other than their layer feed or their adult chicken feed or whatever you normally give them. The snacks, treats, supplements shouldn't make more than like 15 or 20% of their diet. So I'm in no way am I saying flip over to just doing these types of things. But at the same time, if your chickens have a significant amount of feathers that they've lost that they're trying to grow back, their body is not prioritizing laying eggs right now. So don't worry so much about the calcium. Don't worry so much about those other things. To do, and again, you can pick one of these, you can pick all of them, whatever, is wet or dry cat food or dog food. Again, this is not something that I do to my chickens all day, every day. It's about balance, but on these certain phases of life, I do need to get them more protein. So I get really cheap cans or pouches of wet cat food. You can find them like at Dollar Tree. And we don't need any special like kitty milk or anything like that. Like, we're just talking wet cat food. You can give them wet or dry, like I said, wet or dry cat or dog food, plain, unsweetened, unflavored Greek yogurt, the stuff that's just really tart, as long as it's not rotten, as long as it still smells like tart yogurt, you can give them that. I love to give them grubblies, which is the black soldier fly larva, I always say that wrong, that's been dried. I've worked with grubblies in the past. I like them a lot. I have bags here that I'm always giving my girls. Again, this is stuff that on a short term, it's not going to hurt your chickens giving it to them like once a day. You can also do mealworms, dried mealworms. I've done those before. I just feel like for your bang for your buck, it's not as great of a product. You get a lot more just crumbled up dust. Black oil sunflower seeds, or any kind of sunflower seed, you can buy it for birds like chickens and ducks. They don't have to shell the sunflower seed before they eat it, so you can get shells on, which means that's another option that's really, really cheap. Those are all protein snacks. If you want to take it a step further, now this is a little bit more effort, and I do suggest that you have the Chicken Tenders Journal, which I made. It's down below. You can purchase it. It's a printable, a download, so that you can keep track. This is the date that I started giving them this protein stuff, or this is the date that I changed to the high protein feed, which you can do temporarily. Hello, Lace. What you can do temporarily is you can change their layer food. Again, assuming you've got adult chickens, right? Their regular adult, either just the mixed breed or the layer food or whatever, you can either mix it with something like Feather Fixer, which is a higher protein feed. It's sold in small bags. It is fairly expensive for the quantity, but again, this is a short-term thing. You're not doing this all day, every day, all year. Here's an example of a chicken who's coming out of a molt. Right there, that's Tater Tot. So see how you can see the fluff and the down. You're not supposed to be able to see that. She's supposed to be covered in waterproof feathers. So she's getting over the neglect and the bullying situation. And then of course I got her here and started giving her good food, and her body was like, oh, okay, I can molt now. So you can switch, like I said, and add in some Feather Fixer, which I have used in the past, but I found a hack lately that is cheaper. You can also supplement or switch temporarily to a chick grower feed. Now, if you've had chickens, it's okay. It's just the wind. It's okay. If you've had chickens since they were babies, you have chick starter feed. Then you have chick grower feed. And then you have, once they're adults and they're not growing anymore, then you have just like your layer feed or your regular adult chicken feed, right? And the nutritional value is different for all three of those things. For chick grower, and this is for, there's also different feed if you have like meat birds and stuff, it can get kind of nuts. But chick grower this is less calcium because they're not laying eggs yet. We don't need to worry about eggshells and that kind of stuff. We're trying to get them to a big, healthy weight, right? We're getting them to their adult bird size. So, oh, that stretch. Doesn't that sun feel good, girlies? So you can switch to chick grower feed. Honestly, I haven't done a ton of research into this. I'm just giving you the suggestions. I wouldn't switch over 100%, but you can mix it 50-50 with like, your big feed bag of what you normally feed. Again, this is only a temporary solution. The other things that I suggest are, super quickly, that I suggest you don't handle your chickens unless you absolutely need to. Like, I literally picked up these girls and put them on the roost bars as I integrated them the other night. Other than that, I'm not touching them because I'm just trying to see if I can get on her back so you can see. You're looking for the things that look like the clear plastic tubes, almost like straws. Those are the pin feathers. And pin feathers they're connected to the chicken's blood supply. And it's basically like a sheath of keratin, right? Like what our fingernails are made out of, as those larger feathers are coming out slowly. Or if you've seen like a fan worm that lives like in the ocean, it's the same idea. Those feathers are very sensitive and your chicken will bleed if they are broken off. So if you have to pick up your chicken, hold their wings close to their body, try to go in the direction that those pin feathers are growing. But otherwise, this is not the time for you to cuddle your chickens or do anything like that. Do not touch them. On my website, you can see the matching article that goes along with this. I did actually order chicken sweaters from a really awesome young lady named Mamie on Etsy. Here is a link to her Etsy shop, or the name of her Etsy shop. And I'm a fully paying customer, so I don't get any kickback from you ordering from her. She hand knits chicken sweaters or chicken saddles, and at the end of this video I will show you with my stuffed animal Darl's chickens. I will show you how we put on that kind of sweater. There were all kinds of like feather savers or saddles or things like that. Some people put it on their chickens, like on their hens, to keep them protected from roosters. For me, if you're having to do that for the rooster, either you need to get rid of the rooster or you need to give him more hens. That's just me. But for these girls, because they came from that situation where they were being bullied, they were being neglected. If it's winter and your chickens have a bald spot because of molting or because of bullying or whatever, what is that, girlie? Then that's okay. I do not advise that you dress up your chickens because you think it's cute or, anything like that. They can't regulate their body temperature as well. They can't dust bathe, which helps them get rid of parasites and helps with the itchiness, just like with us with dead skin, dry skin, that kind of thing. You know, obviously they can't preen themselves because that thing is in the way. So you can use it very temporarily, but I did buy a set for my 4 new hens, and it did help them when they were in the worst of their molting, and the worst of like getting their feathers back. This last clip is going to show you how to put a chicken sweater or a chicken saddle on one of your hens. I didn't want to try to do this with my new girls, and nobody else needs to be wearing one, so we're going to use Darl's chickens. And so this is what it should look like when it's done. Now, there are different types of saddles and hen savers and stuff like that, but this is a crocheted hen sweater. Again, this is from Mamie's Crochet. You can see her Etsy shop link down here in the video description. You can also get more information and some screenshots, as well as like the sizes that she does and stuff like that, on this article of the same name on realsimplemama.com. But really briefly, it has a small chest piece that's just necessary for the balance. The way these work is that there is the button where you can open and close the buttonhole here on either side that goes under the wing, and then the big piece goes over their back from the back of their neck, and it should go to the base of the tail. So right where the chicken's tail is starting to go up like that, and that way all of this space is covered. Now, of course, Darl's chickens does not have the exact proportions of a normal hen, but you get the idea. I wanted to show you. So the way that Mamie's come is that both of these buttons actually work, so you can open them. And what I did is, before I caught my chicken, or I tried to do this by myself, I undid both of the buttons, and I keep an eye on which piece is bigger, right? Because the bigger piece is the one that goes on their back. The smaller piece goes on their chest, like around their breastbone area, and then around to going towards like down between their legs. So I opened both of these. When I get my chicken, the head hole right here where their head is going to go through has no buttons. So you are going to have to slip it over the chicken's head, place it on their back where you want it to be, and then pull these around, just like you can see on Darl's chickens. Pull them around under the chicken's wing, you know, pull the wing out gently, make sure all the feathers are out and they're not caught, you know, like back up in here, and then affix it on their back and then adjust it. Now, I will say, to be honest, my chickens, they wore them briefly, but both of the chickens that I had, let me back up. When I bought these, I made the mistake of not measuring. I just guessed. And Mamie, you can see the screenshot, like I said, of how she has her listings of the different sizes. I didn't measure the length of my chicken's back. And so I assumed, okay, well, they're just regular adult chickens. The 7-inch one should be fine. The chickens that I needed this for, they are way longer than that. Now, they're not big, huge meat breeds or anything, but still, I needed a longer one. So you want to let your chickens, you know, it should fit on them comfortably without it being too tight. Obviously, it shouldn't restrict their crop here or anything like that. But at the same time, you shouldn't have a chicken who's able to hook their toe here in this front piece and either be hopping around with their foot caught, because obviously they can hurt themselves. Or what ended up happening with my chickens is they ended up being able to get it off. I have no idea how. After a day or two, the buttons were still done. It wasn't ripped or broken in any spot. It was still intact, but my chickens were able to get it off. Now, in that time, their feathers have continued to grow in, and it was kind of a non-issue, but just some things to think about. So this is how it should fit. And again, this is considered like a chicken sweater. Chicken saddles, you can look up other videos. They're in my opinion, they're harder to put on your chicken because you have to get their wing through it, and then you have to like tighten a strap to hold it on. And I feel like when you're dealing with a chicken who, like I said, they're growing in pin feathers and stuff like that, it felt to me like that was going to be a lot more handling of the bird, as opposed to slip this over their head, 1, 2, and then adjust and make sure. I consider this like the chicken's shoulder here. Make sure their shoulder is totally out, right? You don't want the top of their wing like under here. So make sure it's out, and then their wings will go, I'm trying to do this with one hand, forgive me, will go up and over. So it is kind of obscuring the sweater here. But the point is that, you know, whether they've been mated or they were bullied or they're going through a molt, it's going to protect all of this flesh here and all of the pin feathers. Once it looks like they're covered and they're okay, I would take it back off. Chickens can't control their body temperature as much. Like, what do they do if they're too hot? They can't dust bathe, you know, that this is stuck on them. So I would only use this for like a max of a week or two. But it was a really cute, nice way for me to try to protect those hens who had been bullied. and start giving them, like I said earlier in the video, lots of really good nutrition, extra protein to help those feathers come back in. And then once they were more used to me, and the pin feathers are all coming in, there's not any more exposed skin or anything like that, then they took them off on their own, but otherwise I would have taken it off, and then they're ready to go. So these again are from Mamie's Crochet. She let me pick the colors and the different sizes. This is the new ombre one. This is my favorite one. And thanks to Darl's Chickens.